I co-chair this wonderful group with Dot Maver as our advisor. And we have been starting our meetings with some peace breathing. Just very simply, we'll breathe together, sending peace out to the world. So let's try that. Inhale, world. Exhale, peace. Inhale, world. Exhale, peace. Inhale, world. Exhale, peace. Thank you all. Now, if we're not speaking, we will mute our microphones. So you may see in the bottom corner, bottom left corner, there's a place to mute. You can mute if you're not speaking, but then unmute when you are speaking so we can hear you. I am going to ask Dot, since you are able to join us, Dot, if you'd like to say a little hello to everybody. We are so happy you're with us.
Oh, yeah, thanks. It's good to see everybody on this call. And as we approach the International Day of Peace 2018 with the theme, The Right to Peace, as the United Nations continues to ask that question, is peace a human right? It's very heartening to see all of you on this call, and I look forward to hearing from everyone. I have one quick question. Katie, you're in Uganda. Are you with the group from the United Nations and State Department representing peace building?
So I'm actually, sorry, it's a little bit dark out here. I'm actually working with Medical Teams International, which is working on a UNHCR project. And we're working in the Naki Valley refugee settlement. So we have a population of Rwandese, Congolese, and some South Sudan refugees. So we're working, doing capacity building in the medical clinics.
Very nice.
Trying to ensure that the refugees are getting good care, working on gender-based violence, ensuring that the sexual assaults are being documented properly. The center I'm working at for these 2 weeks has a midwifery center, a small inpatient bed unit, a small room for male circumcisions, and then a small room for clinical consults.
Wonderful.
So we're really working with the local medical team here. So the UNHCR has hired, they're partnered with Medical Teams International, and they've hired local Ugandan medical professionals to actually live on the settlements and work in these clinics. And then they bring on U.S. volunteers that are also medical professionals to do medical training, capacity building, and also encourage kind of peace throughout the different sites.
Fantastic, thank you.
Of course, you're very welcome. And so we'll actually be moving on the end of next week to the border of Rwanda.
That's both trips.
In which they actually have a large number of refugees coming in from the Congo. It's kind of the border of the DRC, Rwanda, and Uganda border down in Kisoro. So they have a transit center down there, and they're seeing a large influx coming across. So it's really, really great.
Yeah, it sounds it. It's good work. Thank you.
They actually have a recent, it's on the west side of the DRC, but they have another Ebola outbreak going on right now. So surely that will be somewhere on the news. But right now in the resettlement camp, we have measles and malaria are our two top concerns.
Wow.
So, and child malnutrition.
Yeah.
So many things go on that I don't know about.
If possible, can you type in the name of your organization so we can share it out to all the UN social media sites?
Yeah.
Was that recorded? Can you hear me?
No.
Hi, Kate. Am I coming through?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, I'm coming through.
You
Great.
are,
So
George.
Wonderful. So I'm going to ask you to type in the name of the organization so we can share that out. I'm going to come back to Kate as well, but Dot, I just wanted to introduce you to the group as well. I see we have some wonderful participants here today. But Dot, can you say a few words that if you notice, we have also quite a few young student leaders from the Modern Day Prep Global Leaders Institute joining us. And Dot has, as I said, has been a mentor to thousands upon thousands of young peace activists and peace builders around the world. So Dot, can you share a little bit of your words of wisdom with us? Love to give you this moment.
Oh, thank you, George. That's and that's very kind. A little pressure, right? So, anyway, so the work, actually, I'm looking forward to hearing the work that all of you are doing on the ground, as Katie just shared. And I noticed, Sue, you're on the call with the Peace Crane Project, and that's something for all of us to check out and get engaged with. I also want to say that, as you know, George and Jen, we've been working with Rotary International. And if any of you are familiar with that, which you may be, it's an opportunity to present your work to Rotary through their e-webinar. And please be in touch. I'll put my email in the chat box. Please be in touch if you're interested in doing that, especially through the United States RAG, Rotary Action Group for Peace. And that goes international. So, what you may not know is that there's a National Peace Academy in the U.S. that's quite active. There's Point of View at George Mason University, where we are developing peace building skills and conflict resolution through the School of Conflict Analysis and Resolution at George Mason University, with the theme of a Citizens Camp David, a place where peace builders can go to grow and grow our community skills. Co-founder of the River Phoenix Center for Peace Building, Global Alliance for Ministries and Infrastructures for Peace, and Katie. There are a number of colleagues in Rwanda and in the Congo. If you were willing to share an email, or at least the group name as, oh, here it is, Medical Teams International, would love to let them know of the work that you're doing right now there, because many of them are close by. So. Yeah, so thank you. That's enough said, but would love to hear some of you speak, particularly through Rotary, because that puts it out. It's the largest civic organization on the planet and still growing. So thank you for all that you're all doing for peace.
Thank you, Todd, and thank you for joining us. So I'm going to move the meeting along. I'd like to bring in, I also noticed that Lindy Crescitelli from March for Our Lives has joined us as well. Hello, Lindy.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we all see you. All right, I'm going to mute you for now, Lindy, and I'm going to come back to you. So at this point, Katie, I'd like to bring it back to you again. And can you tell us what you're doing and what has inspired you to become this global nurse and peace builder and bridge builder?
Hold on one second. I just have to move my office.
Are we making too much minutes to move?
No, it's okay. Is there an outside line or no?
It should be the middle one.
Outside?
Outside that end one, try the end one on the left. The other end.
Sorry. Thank you. Hello? Can everybody hear me? Okay. Wi-Fi is hard to come by over here. So part of the reason why I started doing this was pretty much from the work that I used to do with Mr. Anthony in high school with George. And I love to travel. I had done some work in Thailand and Cambodia with street children while in college. And kind of after college, I just picked up local volunteer things. And when I became a nurse, I had the opportunity to go to Haiti after the 2012 earthquake. And since then, I've just taken every opportunity that's kind of come to my door. I met a colleague that worked with Medical Teams International, and I really wanted to focus my nursing career also in a way that I could give back the most to the community. I feel like I've been very lucky and privileged to have a free education all through college. And I think it's very important as a registered nurse and an educated person that we provide that to people that didn't have the same opportunities as me. And it's really important to get a different perspective of the world. And people might not think that nursing and peace building could coincide, but often when we see areas of conflict, we see health crises, and where we see health crises, we see areas of conflict. So it's a great skill, and it's a great thing to be able to really work on peace and building healthcare. And when you're doing capacity building in the field, you know, peace building is a large part of that. It's not easy. You know, you're coming from a Western world where everything's done differently, and people kind of look to you thinking that maybe you have all the answers or that you can fix things for them. And really, it's just about teaching and working together and having them understand that they are just as much a participant as you are. So I kind of just fell in love with it over the years. When I had this opportunity, I'll be in Uganda for 2 months, and then I go to Bangladesh to work with the Rohingya in July. And that's really where I start. And I start just building relationships. And I think my focus will probably be gender-based violence. We do see a lot of that here. They've had about 90 cases on the refugee settlement since January, which doesn't, you know, I don't know if it seems like a lot, but, you know, peace building is a really, really big part of understanding gender-based violence. You know, sometimes people, their definition of peace building is just that, you know, we want world peace. Well, yeah, we do, but you have to use it in every aspect of your life. And when it comes to gender-based violence specifically, you know, you don't think that the people that are examining the victim or the people that are interviewing the victim are also hindering their care. There's a lot of belief systems that have to change, and if you want people to change the way they think, you also have to work on yourself and kind of build that trusting relationship with that person and find a way to build peace within that relationship to kind of get the results that are needed to benefit, you know, the victims. So I don't know if that answers your question. I maybe went off a little bit, but that is what I am doing here. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. Just feel free to unmute your mic.
Does anyone have any questions for?
I have a question. Can I jump in?
Yeah, sure. Hello.
Hi, Katie. Can we see your? I posted a picture of your tat. Remember?
Oh yes.
I run the Peace Cream Project. Katie
yeah.
has a tremendous new tattoo that I love. I've never gotten one. It's not my generation, but you know, you've inspired me. I may do it again. So I'm wondering if there's some way, I know you're super busy there and you have so many things going, but I'm wondering if there's some way as you travel, if we can sort of hook up with the people there and create some opportunity for them to fold cranes, and maybe even enlist some of the students who have here a program called Ambassadors.
I'm very lucky to be in Uganda for these 2 months because Uganda is actually very, very nice to their refugees and to my schedule. So I am off on weekends and evenings. So granted that I have Wi-Fi, I'm available. But yeah, so as long as I know a little bit in advance, I'm here until the end of June, till June 30th. So if you give me a day, I can make myself available. I'm 7 hours ahead of New York time.
Okay. Okay, I'll send you a private email. I have your email. So.
You know some people that are here in the area. I can surely take a day trip to meet up.
Okay, that sounds great. I'll send you email.
Yeah.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Sue. So we'll also come back to you as well. I just want to recognize also that Avon Matheson is on this call as well. Avon is the founder of Pathways to Peace. And Avon, at this point, we have actually 3 representatives of Pathways to Peace on this call, myself, Katie, and Lindy Crescitelli. So welcome to the conference, Avon. Was I muted that whole time?
No, we heard you.
Okay.
I think maybe Avon's muted.
That's very possible. Let me see.
Hello. Thank you so much. Katie, it is such, first of all, Jennifer and George, thank you so much for continuing the Education Peace Committee these years and keeping so consistent. And Katie, I just want to again honor you. Peace building through nursing is crucial, especially from the approach that you and the organization are taking. And you are so articulate in what you express is educational in everything that you say, and you are truly an inspiring peace leader. So I just send you all bows. And before you go to Bangladesh, if there's a way we can connect, I may have someone who may be able to assist in that process.
Oh yeah, sure, that would be great.
Thank you, Avon. So moving the meeting forward, we have wonderful guests. We have Lindy Crescitelli and John Papanier. Lindy and John have been extremely strong advocates and organizers for March for Our Lives. They've been extremely busy these last few months, basically introducing a nation to the idea of student voices and student empowerment. And Lindy, love to bring you into the fold, and welcome to the Education Peace team. I'm sure you're proud of Katie as well. She's part of our extended family. So Lindy and John, we give you the floor.
All right. Oh, that was a bad idea. Hi, I'm John, everybody, and I'm the co-founder of March for Our Lives and the lead student organizer. So I got involved in March for Our Lives when we had the shooting in Parkland. Actually, the day of, I was with my friends when I got the notification on my phone. And I remember thinking to myself, what an awful tragedy that was, and how sick it is that that stuff keeps happening. And so when I got involved, I was motivated, I guess you can say. I was angry because I'm really sick of seeing stuff like this happening. And so that's really what got me started. And I saw the kids in Parkland speaking up, and I really just, I wanted to use my voice as well. I saw how they handled it and how they've been handling the media, how they handled the politicians, and how upset they were, and they want to change too. And I just felt less alone in how I was thinking. So that's what, kind of made it easier to speak out about this sort of stuff. And so I led a walkout at Wagner, which got 2,000 students to walk out here on Staten Island. And I also helped organize a town hall, which got Ryan Deitch, a March for Our Lives and Parkland survivor, over here on Staten Island at our town hall, where we had numerous politicians show up, but we did not have our district Congress represent because he didn't show up. So he then came out the next day and told us that the far left, the extremists of the far left, decided to form town halls. That's what his spokesperson said. And, I'm not an extremist, and I'm not on the far left. So, clearly he doesn't really care, and that's upsetting. But most of all, I want to talk about how inspiring it is to see that there's kids my own age here involved, and all over the world. Actually, I heard somebody's here in Iguana right now, and I think that's amazing. So I just wanted to say thank you and then give you props for that. And Lindy, if you wanted to.
You guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
You're welcome, Katie.
I don't know if my audio is on.
We do. We hear you, Lindy.
Okay, great. Hi, Jennifer. Great to see you again. So my cousin was in the school in Florida during the mass shooting, and thank God she survived. She was the one who was in the New York Times the next day, who texted her parents and was quoted in the New York Times as having texted her parents, "If I don't make it out, you were great parents, and I love you for everything you've done." And that really obviously hit home. And George and I have been doing the work with young people of peace building and nonviolence, our life's work. And I totally admit I had a crisis of faith moment. I just was like, you know, why should I go to an International Day of Peace? Why should I, you know, work anymore? If I live in a country where mass shootings are going to become, most people was, oh my God, another one. Like, we're just going to keep acting like this can just keep happening. Another one. How was your math test today? Did you make any new friends? And was there a mass shooting? I mean, is that the world we want to live in? And as John said, it was actually the survivors themselves who 3 days later got on national, international TV and said, we're going to march on Washington. And this is going to be a shift finally. We are going to cause a shift in this violence once and for all. And I said, you know, my goodness, they think that they've only given us a little over a month to get thousands upon thousands of people to Washington, D.C. and get the whole world involved. And I'm just like, wow, the naivete of youth, honestly, a little bit was my reaction there. But then I said, and this is what, you know, George and I know Jennifer and Pathways to Peace, this is what we're all about, the intergenerational connections. I said, you know what? Instead of that reaction, I want to live in a world where that's possible, where what they think is possible, that you can call for a march on Washington with like a month's notice and thousands upon thousands of us will just show up and make it happen. And all around the world, there'll be marches and we really will stand with them. And we're happy to report that people accepted that call, and it was one of the largest marches on Washington in the history. And the civil rights leaders of the civil rights movement of Dr. King's era said to Oprah, thank you on TV, the survivors of that movement said, this is the John Lewises of our generation. These are the young people who are actually going to make permanent changes. And as John said, after the march, I thought, okay, we'll get a little break, but George is right, it's been nonstop. Then they go on Twitter and say, we've got to have town halls all around the country, and they give us a week and a half's notice to get that. But John's being modest. The town hall he hosted was covered by NBC Nightly News and MSNBC all around the world. And we were there. We're happy to report we were with the governor of New York when he got a bill passed that makes it harder for domestic abusers to get guns. And we'll also be going to Albany on Tuesday to call for laws that when people are suicidal or at risk and family members and doctors and everyone says they are, and someone in their house says, you know, this is not a good time for this person to have a gun, and there'll be due process and everything, that that the courts can suspend their right to have a gun. And now the most exciting part is with George and Pathways to Peace and the inspiration of our alumni like Katie, who we always talk about to every young person. John is getting to know your name, and literally and that's what it's about. They get inspired. They want to travel the world, and the Parkland young people are already in Africa and making those connections, and John's interested in that, and take the global scale of every school on the planet should be a safe, nonviolent place and gun-free. And they're willing to take that on, so I know all of us adults are just going to support them and intergenerationally make it happen. So it's an honor to be with you all always and march with you. And if you guys have any questions for John or I, we'll take them.
Lindy and John, as used to say, keep on keeping on. This is only going to get better and bigger. And you are already inspiring thousands of students. And thank you for your inspiration. And I know Scott and Sue, you're sitting here just like as I am, proud of these young leaders taking over the movement, the mantle, and it's extremely inspiring. Jen, is there anything you'd like to add before we introduce our wonderful Sue to the group?
What I'd like to say something very briefly, and that is that we have such opportunity with the International Day of Peace. This, you know, globally now, people are focused in on peace. And so our mission really is this student involvement everywhere. there's so many different aspects to peace, so many different ways students can be involved. And so with our, our small team here can have very far-reaching effects. And so maybe, George, before we go to Sue, do you want to talk about the International Day of Peace NGO Committee meeting and the theme this year, and just really our whole goal of getting students everywhere involved in some way on Peace Day to really feel that they themselves are peacemakers and peace builders for this world. So, George, do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Absolutely. Thank you. Hello. Yesterday we met, the IDP meeting met and the subcommittee met. So it was Lisa Parker of Peace Day Philly, and of course Monica Willard and Lindy Crescitelli and Brendan Perdomo. And then we met later in the afternoon at the United Nations, working with, of course, Kim and Rustam and her team, Antajay and her team. So the focus is this year was the 70th anniversary of the Declaration of Human Rights. And it was extremely spirited conversation because of the movements that are going around the world. And I think one of the conversations also came up was to add to the Declaration of Human Rights. I don't think it's been, there's been an addendum to it since 2001. So one of the ideas that were brought up was to create an addendum of what's going on in the world today and to bring the young people's voices closer to it. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend, but Lindy did attend the conference in my place, and thank you, Lindy, for doing that. But it's going to be September 21st, again, at the United Nations, and they're again looking for student projects, again, that illuminate the idea of the International Day of Peace as well as the Declaration of Human Rights. And so student voices around the world can resonate in that paradigm of change, incredible change. So that is going to be the format of the conference. Lindy, do you want to add a little bit more from that meeting since you were present?
Well, as George said, the most exciting news was that it is going to take place on the actual day, September 21st, because it doesn't always, and that's always nice because it syncs the young person's ceremony with the whole world. It'll be a little earlier this year, I believe at 9:30 in the morning, and they said it might be a little earlier. They're also they're giving the project information that George mentioned is going to be out a little earlier too. And yeah, I think that's about it. Mostly that if you're familiar with the way it normally works, it's pretty much that, and just all you young people out there, start thinking of amazing projects to submit for the International Day of Peace.
My name is Charlie Lumpkin from Philadelphia. I have a question when I get a chance.
Charlie, who is the question addressed to?
Either one of the people, either Ryan or Lindy, from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie. Introduce your question.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's a possibility to coordinate one of the March for Life programs on the day of the International Day of Peace.
So absolutely, March for Our Lives is absolutely committed to being a partner in the International Day of Peace. We're looking at a lot of possibilities with that. I know John will be attending, representing March for Our Lives. I obviously will be attending representing March for Our Lives, and we hope to, but so the answer is yes. We don't know exactly how yet, but we have a lot of ideas and a lot of possibilities. But March for Our Lives is 100% in partnership, and we'll be doing stuff around International Day of Peace.
Right, and I want to also add that when I was at the meeting yesterday, I was asked what the word peace means to me, and I want to share this connection with everybody because maybe I'm not the only one that feels this way, but the word peace, I see yesterday we had a whole bunch of people of different ethnicity, different religion, anything like that. And I don't see that. What I see in a person is I see that they are a human being. And that's the word peace. I felt that we were all in that room connected. I felt that that's love. And peace to me means love. And that's a big thing to me. You know, the International Day of Peace, I feel like it's the whole world coming together as one. And just the sound of that, that's really just, that's to me what peace is. And I wanted to add that connection to everybody. You know, a little bit of a random thought, but I, was asked that yesterday at the meeting.
Beautifully said, John. Couldn't say it any better. So at this point, I'd like to shift over to Susan, and you can share with us some of the wonderful work you are doing with the Peace Crane Project. Everyone, I'd like to introduce Sue DeCicchio. Susan.
Hey, everybody. Good to see everybody on. So I never quite know when I'm going to sign into these things, who's going to be here. So I wasn't quite sure what we were going to talk about today. But just a little recap. I host the Peace Crane Project, and what we do is we invite every student all around the world to fold an origami crane, and then they write a message of peace on its wings. This year, we're also asking them to write pen pal letters, and then through me, they exchange them with other students all around the world. So I think we're over 2 million connections right now. I've stopped counting, but it's a lot of kids. So a couple of things, since we have so many students on the call here today, a couple of suggestions I have for you. For UN Peace Day this year, if any of you do want to present, George, I don't know how you feel about this, but I'd be happy to work with any of you that want to create something around the Peace Crane Project. We have a lot of time here. And I'm creating something called an ambassador's kit, which allows you to go out and be an ambassador for the Peace Crane Project. We can connect with people like Katie. Maybe you can pick a specific refugee camps or Rotary or some other way that you want to engage people in this, and maybe do a presentation about that. If that works for George, I don't know. George is looking up at the sky. But
looking at my students, and I see them seem to be not in agreement. It's something that they like to wrap their minds around. And,
it's just, I'm happy to work with you in whatever way, and it gives you a concrete thing to work on that's already kind of built, and then you can make it your own, whatever that might be.
Yeah.
And
I'm going to turn it over to, Maddie, and I have Maddie to say here, and Karen Nortz and Liz Sheridan, and Cameron Brathwaite, and Joe Stanton. So I think you're in good company regarding building that project further. They're very creative, and I think your project is in good hands.
That'd be great. And I don't know, when does your school year end?
June 12th, but June 14th, but they see each other over the summer as well. So that's not going to be
okay. Because I'm in New York a couple of times this summer, but actually I'm there. I mean, if you can invite me and you want to do it, I'll come out, because I'm there for Book Expo, which is it's at the end of this month. So.
Oh, good. So then, yeah, we'll definitely invite you to Modern Day Prep.
That would be amazing. And the other thing that you guys might be interested in is, I don't know if you know what Peace One Day is up to this year.
No, you don't care.
Peace One Day has launched this new initiative where they're connecting all of us. They've always been a little isolated. This year they're reaching out. They've offered to connect as many of us as possible. This morning they introduced the Peace Crane Project and retweeted it to all of their people. So if any of you are interested in creating a connection with Peace One Day, I definitely think this is our opportunity this year, and I'm happy to make the connection there and see if we can get as much good news from all corners out on their network as we possibly can while they're willing. So I've got that going. The other thing students might be interested in is I wrote a book about Sadako Sasaki that's coming out this year, so I've launched a contest to who can fold the smallest crane. So Sadako was a young girl who was in Hiroshima when the bomb fell, and while she was dying of leukemia, she folded origami cranes. And because there was a shortage of paper in Japan after World War II, no crane she folded was over about this big. And by the time she was towards the end of her folding, the cranes were like the size of a piece of rice because paper was in such short supply. So I've gotten some really, really tiny cranes. See if I have no, I don't see it. I've gotten some really tiny cranes in, but I'm giving away books to the smallest cranes. So I hope if you guys are at all crane folders, you'll consider folding a crane. And all the cranes I collect, I'm taking to Hiroshima, to the Peace Park there. They have a place where they exhibit all the cranes. So if you don't win, your crane still goes to Hiroshima. The other thing, we luckily filmed a sing-along a couple of years ago. We were at Mater Dei. I think they're probably all graduated by now, all my singers from Mater Dei. But we're going to re-up that Right to Peace sing-along that we did. It was on the same theme as this year. So we're going to be sending that out. So I don't know if any of you guys are in it. I don't see any familiar faces here, so I don't think so. But Mater Dei is going to have its day again with that.
We'll definitely enjoy that. But I believe the last one was Lindy's alma mater, Curtis High School.
Oh.
But Mater Dei Global Institute, we are ready and waiting.
Well, I wish I had the resources to do another one. And the minute I have the funding, that was so much fun, and we've had so much fun with that. So, I'm ever hopeful that the world will be, showering us with the money to do those sorts of things on a regular basis. So.
Great, thank you. All right. This is wonderful subcommittee meeting, but we have some wonderful guests as well joining us. So I'd like to extend it out to some of our guests as well. Marilyn, is Marilyn here on the call? Marilyn King? All right, so then I'm going to move it over. I'm going to introduce, I see Edu Academy has joined us today. Paula, would you like to say a little bit about some of the things that's going on?
Sure, thank you. Well, I'm here now doing outside at the church, doing a language forum, which is extremely interesting. I'm continuing to promote, peace through elementary schools, especially in New Jersey at this point. A group of second graders started 3 years ago, motivating peace in their school, and they're actually doing activities. So this is something that we've been trying to continue promoting, to start at a very low grade, to promote the International Day of Peace and letting children understand that this is extremely important. So that has been kind of my focus since I joined the education, component and the peace team, is to work with young children to understand that they can be part of this and understand that you should promote peace in their little ones, so they're able to communicate. And the school principal in some of the schools are now actually making sure that on September 21st or during that week, they're actually motivating and saying it at least through the through their announcements in the morning that today is International Day of Peace, something that we know that schools do not even do. So that has been a positive impact that I'm seeing in certain schools here in the city and some in New Jersey that I'm kind of promoting and kind of putting it in their calendar, which is something that for me, when I first started presenting this, I couldn't believe that some schools didn't, kind of had this information. So now students are kind of more aware and creating this. So this is what I've been doing. And other stuff that, other projects that I've been involved with. But looking forward to this coming year and the celebration for Peace Day.
Thank you, Paula. I'd like to shift over to Elizabeth Sheridan. Elizabeth, do you want to share with us some of the work? Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Hi, everyone. Can we hear me? Okay. So here at Mater Dei, we've been working hard to finish our goal of bringing education to children in refugee camps. Throughout the year, we've had a few major milestones, with our first actually happening in September, when we presented at the International Day of Peace and were globally recognized as a group that would not go farther, but would be able to continue in their mission, and we were exposed to a lot of different organizations. Our Global Leaders Program was also able to meet with Sherman Lau, who is the co-founder of the Global Youth Ministry and has multiple bases in China in which she helps provide education to people in underdeveloped areas. Throughout the year, we've also attended multiple DPI NGO meetings, including United, in which we learned about youth affecting change, CAT series sponsored by Pathways to Peace, including ones on bullying and mental health, which were able to tie into our program, and a digital workshop in which we were able to learn just how to bring our program out to the masses. Throughout the end of the year and going forward, we're still working on our program, the Educational Toolkit, in which we're collecting lesson plans in other areas that we could send over to the refugee camps, and both physical and digital toolboxes that can be used for the students of any age to learn further in their education, so that they are not stopped just because they don't have a physical school building. And we're also going to be hoping to work closely with other organizations, the United Nations, to further our goal.
Thank you. Anybody else from the Global Leaders Institute would like to say a highlight from this year? Go ahead.
A highlight from this year was definitely in September when we presented. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So it was definitely in September, but also going to some of the other meetings, like especially the one about using technology and like media to get the word out. That was very, very helpful in our project.
Great, thank you. I'd like to shift it over. I see there's Fail Peace Now has joined us. They've been with us for the whole conference. Is there anything you'd like to add about your program?
Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you wonderfully.
Oh, no, right now I am, I'm in Bloomington, Indiana. Sorry, I was eating, that's why I had my video up. But, so I'm creating a street project where I have a crystal bowl, you know, a singing crystal bowl that I go out on the street with, and I have coloring sheets that say, this is what a peaceful world looks like. And then it's blank. And I sit on the street with a bunch of markers and things like that. And I talk to people, and I have origami paper that I encourage them. I show them how to do cranes. So yeah, that's what I do. I basically I sit on the street and talk to people about peace, and I just bring awareness to a lot of these different things. That's why I come to this meeting. I'm also an Eleanor Roosevelt impersonator, and I do a little skit in schools dressed as Eleanor, presenting the, or it's Eleanor, yeah, Eleanor talking about the International Human Rights Declaration. So I don't really have an organization. I'm just a person that got involved.
And your name?
It's Makai.
Thank you, Makai. Thank you. So I'd like to then give it to Jennifer. Jennifer, is there anything you'd like to add about your wonderful organization that's coming? We have September's coming up very quickly, believe it or not. And Peace Day Chicago, we have Peace Day Philly, so many wonderful models to emulate. So between what you're doing in Chicago and what Lisa Parker is doing in Philadelphia, is something that the nation can truly learn from as your city shines on such a beautiful day.
Thank you, George. Chicago actually started our Peace Day in 1978, so we were pre-International Day of Peace, and this year happens to be the 40th anniversary of Peace Day in Chicago. So that's a milestone for us. We have our big downtown event as we've been holding. We're really trying to get communities involved in shining a light on the peace building that's already happening in communities. So we're working on this 21 Day of Peace theme from September 7th through the 27th, and trying to highlight through a calendar all kinds of different activities going on in every neighborhood of the city, because this city is really a city of neighborhoods, and people tend to stick to their own neighborhood, not really venture out, and we're trying to give this, make this an opportunity for people to meet their neighbors throughout this whole city and see that there is a lot of peace building going on here, as opposed to the image that so many people have of Chicago as a city of violence. We're really, as a city, happy to be connected with the UN, especially through our team here, and with the UN theme we always try to promote. I also wanted to share, there's another member of our group here, Jane Bernard, who's been a long time advocate and working with us for many years. She's a teacher and also a curriculum consultant at a school in Brooklyn. And at the beginning of last year, she was asked to develop a peace curriculum. And so she has put that together. She has curriculum from preschool through 8th grade. And it's a year-long curriculum. It's not just focused in September, but it does pull in the International Day of Peace. And she had an opportunity to share it with the UN ambassador of El Salvador. And then they, in turn, helped her to share it with a couple other Latin American countries. So through Feel Peace Now, you're one person, but through one person, this peace message is spreading globally through that one person, and that's really what it's about. So I'm sharing Jane's information.
Yeah.
And then anyone who wants to know more about what we're doing in Chicago, feel free to get in touch with me. I'm going to add my email in here as well. Because to us, it is all about this idea that, all of us work really hard, and sometimes we feel like, it's just me or just this small group, but really it's global. There are people everywhere, and the more we can remind ourselves of that, it really helps build your own momentum to keep it going. So let's just, George and I have been really busy. We haven't put this team together for a while, but we're going to try to keep it up and have at least one more meeting before the International Day of Peace, and then do a follow-up afterward, and just, keep our connections going, because that's really important.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thanks.
One thing about the International Day of Peace we always say is that although it's September 21st, it's always 365 days a year. It's a big part. And I know working with Pathways to Peace and the Culture of Peace Initiative, they were truly one of the founders of this movement. And we've been benefiting from it. But the most important thing is for us is that to remember every day is the International Day of Peace, in regards that peace building requires work and requires the investment of the body, of the mind, of the spirit. And this is what brings us together. John spoke beautifully before about the idea of what is peace. Peace is love. What brings us together is the idea of that love connects and violence destroys. So our words, our hearts are powerful, and they need to resonate and continue to resonate. And that is what we do. So we have a little bit of time left. Would anyone like to add anything? Closing statements? Anyone would like to say anything to the group? Dot, I'd love to give you the floor.
Yeah, thank you, George, and thank you, Jen. Thank you for keeping this alive. I believe, but she kicked it off by affair, and that we are all basically peace builders. And John and Lindy, as you shared your story, and John, you spoke to this idea of our interconnectedness, our oneness, our recognition of that. And Elizabeth, as you were sharing your story, and I want to say that what we are really striving to do is to basically institutionalize peace in a new way, not in the old bureaucratic way, but to actually make it a way of life. And to do that, we have to pragmatically create the conditions for the culture of peace. And each one of you, as you're telling your stories, you're doing that in ways that people can understand, in ways that are the building blocks, the foundational building blocks societally, as we shift from an all systems breakdown to an all systems breakthrough, and sharing and cooperation become ways of life. And it is all about love. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Dad. Lindy, would you like to, any closing words?
Well, I just would like us all to united say, may peace prevail on earth, because that's something that's said at the International Day of Peace. And we're not to the 100-day countdown yet. There's going to be a series on June 12th that George is one of the hosts of. And there'll be, that's the day before the 100-day countdown to the International Day of Peace. But it's never too early to united declare may peace prevail on earth, as we will do at the 21st of the United Nations.
Yes, we always try to end the meeting on that too. So Lindy did bring up an important note. On June 12th, the International Day of Peace Committee team will be meeting at the United Nations, DPI Resource Center for a chat series on the importance of the International Day of Peace. Peace Day Philly will discuss some of their roles. We will definitely talk about some of the great things that Jennifer Kim is doing in Peace Day Chicago, Chicago Peace Day. Also talking about some of the many organizations that are out there interconnected with the International Day of Peace that will be also on Facebook Live. So look for it. We will definitely market it out. We will send it out. Doing wonderful work with the UN DPI Resource Center led by Hawa Diallo and the wonderful Swati Dave, working so hard at promoting the United Nations initiatives and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. One of the Sustainable Development Goals this year, heavy focus will be on Sustainable Development Goal number 16, which is building partnerships. So that's key. And we have some amazing partners here. Peace Academy under Dot May, with Sue DiCicchio, now Lindy and John with the March for Our Lives, Peace Day Chicago, the Global Institute of Modern Day Prep. It's wonderful voices that resonate, continue to resonate in this regard of building peace, continuing to build peace, and making those connections. Katie McAvoy was a joy to have on today, and we look forward to supporting her in her endeavors as she travels the world as a global nurse, a global angel, as I call her. And we are so proud of the work that you do. And to the young people joining us today, this is your work. This is, we are here to support you, and where you can make a difference and be the difference. So don't ever forget that. Your words are powerful as well as your actions. Jenna, I'm going to let you close out. And does anyone have any other final words? Jen, the floor is yours.
George, I'm going to jump in because I'm just reminded of one other thing that I really would like to share with this group. Over the weekend, I was at a conference in Dubuque, Iowa, and one of the groups that was there, it's called Challenge to Change. It's a young woman who teaches yoga to kids, and not only yoga, but like a philosophy of kindness and respect. And just really, it's a peace-building program. You can tell in so many different ways. And their little group has now gotten into the school system, and they are teaching mindfulness and kindness and respect and how to get along, starting with very little kids. So they had a group of about 20 kids, 25 kids that gave a little program. They sang songs. They learned sign language to perform a song with sign language, all about peace. And they made big signs with like practice peace, practice kindness. And they went out and handed those signs to the audience of adults, to wake us up to please practice these things. And she showed me a little thing they did that they taught in the school that was a little finger game for the children that they loved, but it was, you put the fingers together one by one in a little pattern. Let peace begin with me. And then you do it backwards. Let peace begin with me. Now, I already did it wrong because I didn't do the same fingers. But the kids, try to do how fast can they do it, how fast they can say it. And they are repeating that message, let peace begin with me, let peace begin with me. It's really where it starts. We've got to change the messaging in our own heads. We've got to change those downward trains of thought to those trains of thought that are, encouraging to ourselves and to each other. Because if we don't, like Lindy said, it can be so easy to get pulled in to all the negativity that is bombarding everyone. But that's not all there is. We have to be the ones that model, hey, there's something we're out there and we can do it. And there's something you can do and something I can do. So that's why I love being around people like all of you and people like those kids that are promoting messages of peace themselves from the time they're little. So on that note, why don't we breathe some peace a little bit longer, and then we'll all unmute ourselves, which gets very noisy and loud, but we will all unmute and we'll all say together, may peace prevail on earth. So first we'll do some breathing. We'll inhale world, exhale peace. Inhale world, exhale peace. Inhale world, exhale peace. Let's all unmute ourselves. That little microphone at the bottom left corner, you can click it to unmute. Let's say together, may peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail on earth. One more time. May peace prevail on earth.
Bless you all.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. You're right, Jennifer. Lifting to be here. I really appreciate it.